and good morning. Welcome back to the fifth session of MMPC 017. Namaskar and good morning. Welcome to this fifth session of MMPC 017 Advanced Strategic Management. I'm Dr. Siran Mukerji, Additional Director in IGNOU Regional Center, Noida. We resume from where we had left last week, MMPC 017, the fourth session. And this is again, I would just have a quick recap of the course structure. As you all might be recalling, we have four blocks: block 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in the previous session, that is in the fourth session, we were discussing the block 3, international strategy. And in the international strategy, we were talking about the internationalization process, and also we moved on to the next unit of block 3, that is evaluation of market risk assessment. Well, we had seen the reasons for the market risks, and we now move on to seeing the ways that these market risks can be mitigated for any kind of international strategic alliance or any kind of internationalization decisions that a company uh, undertakes. Well, okay. Today, what we'll do is first we'll try to complete the block three. And in block three, we'll try to complete the evaluation of market risk assessment. And also, we will try to complete entry into the international market, which happens to be the last unit of block three. And then we will also, if time permits, we will also move to block four, strategic enablers. That is, which are the various key players which help the company to implement the various strategies, the various plans. And basically, when we are talking of enablers, we are talking of those factors which are catalysts in helping the organization in its internationalization process, helping the organization in implementing its long-term plans. So, in that also in block four, we will take up the first unit of the block four, that is IT and strategy. Okay, without losing further time, let's move on to block three, evaluation of market risk assessment. And here, this is again an illustration of what we discussed just now. Well, block three has got 3 units, block four has got 4 units, and in block three, we have already completed the first and second unit, and we now move on to the third unit, entry into the international markets. And of course, yes, a little bit of unit two is also left. That also will complete. That is assessment of markets. And then there are 4 units in block 4, which are entitled technology and RD, IT and strategy, knowledge management, and innovation. Well, these are basically the 4 enablers or 4 catalysts which play a very pivotal role in the success of any kind of strategy in an organization, whether it is at a local level, at a national level, or it is at a global level, international or transnational level. Okay, friends, let's continue. So if you would recall, we had in the previous session we were discussing causes of risk when we had completed that section, and now we resume from there. Well, what are the causes of risk when a company plans to go for any kind of strategic alliance? The causes of risk could be, as you know, they could be the internal factors, which could be the causes of risk. Also, they could be the external factors, which could be the causes of risk. Now, let's say the economic objectives. This is one of the causes of risk. Now, the company, before going into any kind of international operations, before venturing into any kind of strategic alliance with any other company abroad, or even if it does not go for any strategic alliance in as a part of its internationalization process, if it wants to move standalone on its own, it wants to venture into the international markets, it has to consider the economic objectives before taking any major decisions of internationalization. Well, what are these economic objectives? The economic objectives, as we all know, economic objectives of the country where it is planning to have its strategic alliance, or where it's planning to go for its internationalization policies. So restriction by the country in profit or royalty repatriation. There are sometimes there are certain countries wherein even if a company is operating there, it is manufacturing its products there, a foreign company manufacturing its products there, and it is also selling its products locally in that country. But then the proceeds, the sale proceeds, the profits which are accrued out of these sales, though the country will not allow that particular company to repatriate entire profits that are accrued out of the business. So that could be one of the risks for the company. So this factor has to be considered. These are what economic policies of the country. So before taking, because we know any kind of internationalization process, moving from a domestic operation to international operation, so any kind of internationalization process, it involves a lot of risk. So before taking any such major decisions, the company has to consider the economic policies of the country where it is planning to venture. Then, restriction on import or export. Now there are certain countries, they have, every country basically has got its own exim policies, that is, export and import policies. Now the country where we are planning to move, where we are planning to venture, where we are planning to foray, well, that we have to check what are its export and import policies. There could be certain curbs, there could be certain curtails. So and once we are there, we are operating there, we are manufacturing there, or for that matter, we are into a joint venture with any other company in that foreign nation. So once we are already there, it's very difficult to retrace back. One has to be very, very cautious while taking such decisions. So the economic objectives have to be seen. Then the monetary and fiscal policies of the company, as well as the monetary and fiscal policies of the host country where the company is planning to venture for its business. So one has to see whether there is a match between the policies of the MNC and the host country where it plans to operate. If there is a match, then it's fine. Otherwise, you have to, as a foreign company, you have to modify your policies, so that you can successfully operate in that company. Then the taxation, what are the taxation norms in the country? Then economic development, industrial policies. You now one when we are talking of economic development and industrial policies, which area, it might just be possible that not the entire country is open for business ventures to come and establish themselves. So, what are the industrial policies? Then we have to see what are the environmental policies, what are the environmental norms, the ecological rules and regulations. Whether the country where we planning to operate, where we planning to have a strategic alliance, where we planning to have our internationalization project implemented, whether that country supports our products or not, whether that country supports our raw materials or not. So all these factors are basically, they are the causes of risk, and these things have to be very, very minutely detailed out, so that once we establish ourselves in the foreign country, we establish ourselves there, we don't land in unnecessary problems, in unnecessary strategic hurdles. Then, colonial heritage policy is discouraging, which means like policy is discouraging. Now it might just be possible that there's some countries, they might not welcome any kind of business venture from some specific country because of their own past experiences, which of course nowadays it doesn't really work. People, they just move on. But then still, due to certain, let's say, bad, or let's say unhealthy practices which were going on earlier, so the country, after it attains independence, it might not like to go back to the country which was causing all sorts of problem in the land. So these things have to be seen. Then socio-cultural differences. Now, there might be certain products which might not be acceptable in the foreign country. So we have to see whether, what is the culture, what is the religion, what is the societal norms of that country where we are planning to internationalize our operations. So these are the various causes of risk, and it's not that because of these risks the companies will not go and venture abroad. No, the risks are there, but then there are also ways of mitigating this risk. A well thought out plan, a well thought out strategic management conducted by the company will obviously help the company in going and successfully establishing itself as a new venture in the foreign nation. So as I said, it's not that there's no risk. See, there's risk not only in internationalizing our operations. There is risk even in the domestic market. There is risk of losing the competitive advantage. There's a risk of losing the market share. So there is risk everywhere. But then maybe locally in the domestic market, the risk could be handled much more easily because things are under our control. We are locally present there. The company headquarters is there. Then we are in the know of the changing economic policies, changing fiscal policies of, because the country, we are in our own country, we are in the domestic operations. But that becomes difficult when we foray into the international markets, because there, as the changes are happening, we don't get to know them immediately. We will realize only after a certain period of time, and by that time it might be very late. So there is risk, but within this risk, knowing very well, being aware that yes, any kind of changes, any kind of operational changes would obviously involve risk. But even after knowing that, if we do our work in a more diligent manner, we do our work in a more detailed, as a result of detailed evaluation and analysis, then there are very, very, very less chances that the project will fail. So, what are the risk management techniques? Rejecting the investment. It might just be possible that you see that the environment is not suitable. The economic environment, the socio-cultural environment at present in the country where you want to venture out, that is not suitable. So you just abandon the project. I mean, you don't move ahead with the plans at all. Then long-term agreements. If in case there is kind of strategic alliance with a company in the foreign nation, you go into a long-term agreement, spell out the detail, have a very detailed agreement. And short-term agreements, there might be chances of risks affecting the project. But in a long-term agreement, in a long-term business venture, there can be upheavals, but then these upheavals can settle down. Then also lobbying, lobbying with the local companies. Legal actions, have a clear cut legal framework of, if the of the various plans and hurdles. If there are any hurdles, then what legal action that the company can take so that the risk can be mitigated. Then at times there is also that, you pressurize from the home country through political channels, through let's say government level. At the government level, you pressurize the foreign companies in the foreign land. So that again, sometimes it helps. So there are various methods, there are various means of managing the risks. Although the risks exist, but there, it's not that they cannot be handled, they cannot be tackled. They can be tackled, and the companies, they do tackle, because you cannot be in a closed, uh, bottle tight, environment. So the problems are there. Obviously, whenever we don't take problem in a negative sense, whenever there is any situation which involves making a decision, that is a problem. So the problems are there, risks are there. Wherever there is a chance of taking unstructured decisions, so obviously there would be risk. Routine matters do not involve risk. Wherever we move to non-routine matters, there is risk. But then, considering, knowing that there is risk, it's not that we will not venture there. We will venture, but we will venture in a much more judicious, well thought out manner. Okay, now we move to the next unit, Unit 8, entry into the international markets. We're moving a little ahead now, and at the end of this unit, we will be able to understand what are the complications of international trade. There are various methods. We will discuss in this unit. You will see there are almost 10 different kinds of methods by which a domestic company can move to international markets. There are 10 different ways. So we're going to discuss that. Then we will also try to identify the suitable entry method in international trade based on select parameters, based on different parameters, based on different dimensions. We will also be able to identify which could be the suitable method for international operations. Then we will also see what is the role of government in establishing trade policy and providing supportive environment for international trade. As I said, government has a key role in encouraging or discouraging foreign companies to come and operate in the local market. So the government is responsible for providing, or let's say promoting international trade, and government is also responsible for discouraging international trade. So why would it discourage and why would it promote? It would promote wherever in all those areas where the government sees that its country is going tend to gain. Country, when I talk of country, I mean all the stakeholders. So where the government sees that all the stakeholders in the local market, in the country, are going to gain from such kind of international operations, the country will welcome any such foreign venture. But where the country sees, where the government sees that by going into such kind of international ventures, our own stakeholders are going to suffer, or for that matter our own local, or let's say the domestic companies are going to suffer if we promote international companies in these areas, in these sectors. Let's say for example, we take the textile industry. Now it might just be possible that cotton textile industry, the locally the companies are very successful, and they have a major large chunk of the market share. Now do you think the government in such a case would like to topple the apple cart? No, the government will not like to topple the apple cart. Instead, what it will do, it will promote these local companies to go and come into joint ventures for exporting the cotton textiles from this country to any of the countries abroad. So then in that case, it will not encourage international companies which are in cotton textile industry to come and operate locally. Because then what will happen? The market share of the local companies, of the domestic companies, that will be taken away, because it might just be possible that the international company which is venturing, which is entering the market as a fresh entrant, when it's coming into the market, it might just be possible that the company is coming with fresh technologies, fresh methods, fresh marketing methods, fresh advertising techniques, which would obviously seriously hamper the operations of the industry domestic companies in the industry. So no government will promote the international companies or multinational companies or MNCs at the cost of its own national level companies. So we're going to discuss all this. Let's move on. Now, what is the criteria for entering into international market? There are certain specific criteria. There are certain dimensions, certain parameters which every company has to consider, has to keep in mind before moving into, before foraying into, or before venturing into international markets. Let's see them. Let's try to discuss them one by one. What the first one is, obviously, to try to find out what are the various potential international markets, which are the regions where by venturing into those areas, those countries, where the company can have successful operations, can achieve its objectives, can have higher profits. So first, not all the countries would be welcoming, number one, or for that matter, even if the country is welcoming, it might just be possible that the country is politically unstable. So no company would like to venture into international markets in the countries where the countries are politically, socially unstable, which does not have a stable government. So first thing is, the company will try to find out the potential markets, will try to find out the potential industries where it can foray into. Then it will try to find out the supporting resources, whether, let's say, in from India, there's an Indian company which plans to move into the international market, let's say in Western Africa. So the Indian company will have to see whether the resources which are required towards manufacturing the certain products or even services, whether those resources and the resources could be also, let's say, technical know-how, although it is going to provide the technical know-how there, but still, whether it has the basic infrastructure, whether the resources are there, whether the manpower is there. It's not possible for the company to move 500 employees from here to the Western African country. Obviously you have to bank upon the local resources. Now whether these local resources are available, that is another major parameter which has to be considered before moving on to before operating into international market. Then necessary controls and feedbacks, whether the country where the company is planning to venture out, whether it will be possible to ensure certain audits, certain controls, and whether it will be possible to have a regular assessment or evaluation of the operations there. So and as a result get a feedback. Once we get the feedback, then only we know that yes, we are comparatively, let's say, we are more successful, and we can continue with the operations there. So this is another important factor. Just implementing a project, just strategizing a project, implementing a project is not enough. For the longevity of the project, we need to continuously assess it, and as a result of assessment we need to get the time to time we need to get the details from there. So there should be an adequate management information system in place. So is we have to see whether the international market where we're trying to venture, whether we will be able to implement or install an adequate MIS there. So this is yet another important factor. Then, as I discussed just a few minutes back, whether the international market, the countries where we're planning to set up our business, whether those countries have a stable government, what are the economic policies of the government, what are the socio-cultural norms of the government of the country there. So, based on social factor, cultural factor, existing ethos, existing international, let's say, other companies which are existing there, international business environment, how promoting they are, the local government, how promoting the government is. So, based on all these factors, again, these are important criteria. Based on these factors, a company can decide whether to move on to the international market or not. Then, moving to international ventures is not easy. It requires a lot of resources, it requires time, investment, energy, strategizing, it requires human resources, it requires to a proper business vision, mission, objectives, goals. Now, all these have to be clearly marked out. From a purely domestic company, if the company wants to move into international operations, all these things have to be spelled out at length. Everything has to be clearly marked out. So that is so that there is no once the project is implemented in the international market, in the international business arena, so that there are no hiccups. So these are again very, very important factors for the success of international business. Then also we have to see how we are going to move into the international market. Are we going to have a joint venture? Are we going to go into a strategic alliance? Are we going to have any kind of vertical integration, horizontal, or will it be an horizontal integration? Will it be a diversification process, or will it be simply, or will it be a subsidiary? So we those things again we have to decide that what kind of international venture are we going into. Now let's see what are the entry strategies. Entry into the international market. As I said, there are 10 different strategies. One is export based entry. Simply export. What the company tries to do, it manufactures the products locally in the domestic market and then it sends it abroad. So direct exporting sells the products directly in the foreign market through distributors, foreign retailers and other intermediaries. So what we do, we manufacture the products locally, and then we have foreign retailers in the country where we mean to send our products. We have foreign retailers there, or we have foreign distributors there. We send our product to them, and they then distribute it to the local dealers in the country. So in this case, what happens is the risk is very less because we are not establishing our unit there. We have more of sale as compared to, because let's say we are a particular car manufacturing company is selling, let's say, 100 units locally. It's a maybe a super luxury model of car. It is selling 100 units in the domestic market. Now it goes into a foreign venture. In the foreign, this thing, although we are manufacturing the car locally, we export it to the foreign country. Let's say from Germany, the car is exported to India. So, and in India, this particular German company is having its retailers or distributors. So what happens is the you are going to increase your sales. Then we are not affected by, in a way, directly we are not affected by the operating environment, foreign operating environment. We are not directly affected because we are wholly dependent on the foreign retailers or our distributors there to sell our product. We don't have our manufacturing unit there. So it is the responsibility of the foreign retailers or the distributors or any intermediary for that matter to to procure the products from us and sell it locally there. But there are also disadvantages. The disadvantages is the per unit cost of exporting a product is high. Naturally, then all the duties. Let's say the car which is being manufactured in Germany that is sold in India. So once when the car comes to India, the car which is where Germany is exporting and India is importing in a way. So the car which is coming to India, that will be subject to all the duties that are liable to be added onto the price. So naturally the price goes up. Then leads to less than optimal market penetration. We are dependent on our subsidiaries. We are not players out. We are not the major main players there. So we have to depend on our subsidiaries. Subsidiaries are very active. The retailers are very active. Our product will be sold. If they are not that active, and let's say locally, the local companies are having major chunk in the market share, then we will tend to lose. So a lot in the success of export based entry strategy, a lot depends on what kind of competition we have in that country. The more strong the local companies are, the higher the market share the local companies have. Naturally, we will have much more competition, or tougher will be the competition for us to handle. Non-equity based entry. The non-equity based entry is, for example, licensing. Licensing is a non-equity based entry. And what happens in licensing? A licensee, that is the licensor, let's say the main company in India is the licensor, and what it does, maybe it wants to go into a foreign venture, and in the international market there is a company B. Let's say in Tanzania there is a company B. So the Indian company, which acts as a licensor, gives license to the company in Tanzania to operate, to manufacture the products which the licensor does. So, and this license would be in what form? It could be process license, it could be a patent, it could be trademark, it could be a copyright, or any kind of know-hows or an expertise. So the parent company provides the expertise, provides the patent, provides the trademark or the copyright to the local company in the foreign land, and with the help of this patenting, with the help of this copyright, it then, or the trademark, it then manufactures the product locally there. What is the advantage? What is the advantage? And in return, what does it get? It gets profits in addition to obviously the domestic profits, and it gets this profit would be in the form of additional revenue from the foreign market. Also, the product might just be possible that this particular product has reached the saturation stage. There are product life cycle: birth, growth, maturity, and then fall. or saturation. So maybe it might just be possible that this particular product has already reached the maturity and the saturation stage in the domestic market. So for continuing with this product, for continuing the business, then the company locally has to it has to innovate, has to improve the product so that it continues to capture, or let's say yes, capture the attention of the customers. It continues to sell that product, but it might just be possible that this particular product is still in demand, or let's say it is in demand in the foreign market. So then in that case, although the sales would fall in the local market, in the domestic market, but the this fall in the sale will be offset by the rise in the sale in the foreign market for that particular product. Then what are the disadvantages? Might limit future profit opportunities. It might also be possible because you are dependent on the licensee to manufacture or to sell the manufacture and sell the product there. So the future profits might be the opportunities for profits less, or it might even lose control over the quality, because we are giving, what are we doing? We are giving the patent, we are giving the trademark to the foreign company there. So once we give the trademark, then we are losing the control of the quality, losing the control on the quality of the product and the processes. So we will not directly have a control on the quality of the product. Although indirectly we can have as a part of agreement, obviously, but still, so our reputation uh, could be at stake, because our reputation would be known by the product there. Although we are not manufacturing it directly, our licensee is manufacturing it. The third kind is the franchisee. Now, this is again similar to licensing, but in case of franchisee, the franchisee also gets assistance with the operations or supply of raw material from the franchisor. So, in this case, the raw material or the know-how, or in the operations, in the business operations, the company which is providing the franchisee, it also helps in the know-how. It gives the know-how, so it gives the technical assistance. So although the local company, the franchisee company, gets the trademark, name, process of the franchisor, but franchisor is at the back, giving it the due support, due backing. So it might also be possible that the franchisee does not have the resources, or does not have all the resources, might be having the resources but not all the resources. So the franchisor will provide the necessary backup support. Thus, because it is providing the support, it is providing part of the raw material, it is providing the know-how. So don't you think that the company in a way indirectly has more control over the franchisee? Obviously it has more control over the franchisee. Like, we say it's a franchisee company. So what is it doing? It is taking our name. It is on the taking our name. We are providing it the support, and it takes our name ahead. Maybe where it might not be possible for us to operate. Let's say there might be a lot of language, cultural, social differences there. It might not be possible for us to have our own subsidiary. So what we do, we take the help of local company and we sell our products there. So that is franchising. What is the advantage? Advantage is increased revenue, expansion of the brand name, identification, and obviously wider market reach. It might, as I said, there might be major differences in the socio-cultural environment between the local country where the company, the domestic operations where the company is located, and the foreign market where it is going to venture. So it might just be possible that the company might think that we might not be able to manage it ourselves. What do we need? We need the help and support of a local company there, which can manage the local operations, which is obviously in the socio-cultural milieu there. So that is basically franchising. Again, Disadvantage is assuring quality and operating standards might be difficult because again you are dependent on them. You are providing them the support, but you are not doing it yourself. So whether they are making it or they are breaking it, that depends on them. So you are indirectly you have certain control, but you are not fully in charge or on control. You're not fully controlling the operations. You are in a way dependent on them. Then the fourth is contract manufacturing. MNC firms has contract with local firms to provide manufacturing services. So what you do is it is something like vertical integration, wherein you might just be possible that for the supply of raw material, maybe you have your own unit, manufacturing unit, but for the supply of raw material, you might take the help of the other companies. So you give them the contract to manufacture. It could be two things: either manufacture the entire product or manufacture the raw material. So it could be either, as I said, manufacture the entire product. So manufacture the it could be full manufacturing, full contract manufacturing, or it could be partial contract manufacturing. You come into agreement with a foreign company to manufacture only, let's say, the spare parts. The company will manufacture the spare parts and send them to you, and what you are doing, you are just assembling it. So that is another way of internationalizing your business. What are the advantage? Expand the supply or production expertise in minimum cost, because here you are not setting up your own manufacturing unit. There is another company which has its already existing manufacturing unit. What you are doing, you are taking the raw material from them, you are taking the spare parts from them, or you are taking the various. Now why only spare parts? You are taking all the parts from different. Now here in this case, you might be even having contract manufacturing agreement with four companies. Again, I'll take the example of car manufacturing unit. You might be having agreement with company which is manufacturing steerings. You might be having agreement with company which is manufacturing the tires. You might be having agreement with the company which is manufacturing, let's say, the air conditioners for the car. You might be having an engine is yours. So it might just be possible that you are taking these parts from various companies, you are bringing it together and you are assembling it. But then this is an international operation. So partly self-manufactured, partly depending on other companies for the manufacturing. So, but then again, there are certain disadvantages, might forego some degree of control over production and supply. Now here, see, this is, as I said, you are dependent on the supply of raw material, or let's say certain parts, on other companies. So suppose there is a strike in that particular company which is manufacturing and supplying you with the steering wheels, and if there is a strike there, or for that there is a, suppose there is some unrest, political unrest, political instability in the country where the tires are manufactured, what would you do? Your manufacturing of the car will get hampered because of supply of because of delay in the supply of tires. Similar thing, if you remember during the COVID times, we were hearing that the companies are getting, the products are getting delayed because of delay in the arrival of chips. The chips were being manufactured in certain country, and because of COVID, there was complete lockdown. The manufacturing process of the chip industries, had become slow, and as a result, all those products which were using those chips from a particular country, those products, manufacturing of those products had also got affected, had got hampered, and thus the supply to the markets had got delayed. So that is one of the disadvantages of contract manufacturing. Next, we move to management contract. Firm agrees to rent its expertise and know-how to another firm or government. It is something like you are providing a consultancy. in the form of personnel who manage the concern in the international. Let's say, there is a very big company which goes into has a contract with a, another company in another country or the government of that country. Let's say it could be oil and natural gas exploration. Now, there could be, let's say, there could be a company in Saudi Arabia. I will not name that. Maybe there's a big company in Saudi Arabia. That company comes into an agreement with a company in India, or let's say the Indian government, in providing the know-how to India for oil and natural gas exploration. Now, there, the whole process is being managed, would be managed by the Saudi Arabian company. Their own people would come, their own technical know-how, their own expertise, and that will help the local government, let's say the Indian government, in the oil and natural gas manufacturing and processing. So this is just as simple. I just gave you an example. It could be any other example for that matter. So what in this case, so in this case of management contract, what happens? The A to Z facility is being managed by the foreign company. Then we also have the direct investment, wherein the company, what it does, it invests in the foreign land. It invests in terms of it commits the resources. So it could be in the form of capital, it could be in the form of personnel, it could be in the form of knowledge, technical know-how. So thus it will have greater control of costs and operations. It will, and the company in turn will have better profitability, but then it will be dependent on the foreign business environment. Again, I'm coming back to the same thing. It will be dependent on the local government, how the business environment is, whether the local government is promoting a foreign business or not locally. Seventh is strategic alliances. Well, we've already discussed in detail strategic alliances. Strategic alliance is another method for moving into international market. It could be joint venture, wherein two or more firms they establish business operations, or it could contribute equity, capital assets. But then the percentage of ownership depends on the capital or the equity that is being contributed by individual firms. It could be 60-40, it could be 49-51, whatever. So ownership will be dependent on how much is being invested by the individual companies. Then we have wholly owned subsidiaries. Like we might have, let's say, a company which is, excuse me, we might have a company which is into manufacturing apparels, textile industry, or let's say apparel industry, or let's say shoe manufacturing. So what it does, instead of depending on the local company for its products, it will itself establish its own wholly managed units in the foreign land, in the foreign countries. So there what happens, the firm in this case, where there are wholly owned subsidiaries, the firm retains fully control of its marketing, pricing, production, decisions, and thus will maintain greater security over its technical assets, because it's not sharing the knowledge or know-how with any local company. So there are no chances that at a later stage the local company will separate and will move apart and set up its own unit using the know-how of the other company. That is not possible there. So wholly owned subsidiaries, but then since the company is managing it's completely itself, so the profit is also its own. It doesn't need to share the profit with any other business unit, but at the same time it bears all the risks, because it's not sharing the business, it's not sharing, it doesn't have any kind of joint collaboration or agreement with any local company. Since it does not have any joint collaboration, obviously it is responsible for the good or the bad, whatever happens. Then also there are the ninth kind of international operations could be globalized operations, wherein consumers across the globe are similar in their choices and requirements. This is like niche. Niche market. This is completely niche market, wherein there are certain products which would be liked or which are used by people all across the globe. So since the choices are similar, the same kind of product, let's say there is a luxury car, that particular car will be liked in Germany, it will be liked in UK, it will be liked in US, it will be liked in India. So the same product will be supplied at all the different locations. Similarly, that's what I said. It's standardized, same product, standardized products will be available across the countries. So that means what? We are catering to a specific segment of customers in this case, in case of globalized operations. Low cost of manufacturing due to increased demands. Naturally, the same product you are supplying to people all across the globe. Then naturally that leads to also economies of scale. Production per unit manufacturing cost of the product is less. So naturally the profit is higher, and that leads to economies of scale. Then there is also portfolio investment. What does this involve? There is no need for physical presence in the foreign country. The company plans to go international, have its international operations, but then it is only in the form of investment, in the form of, let's say, securities, bonds, commercial paper, stock, certificates of deposits, investment through foreign bank, loans, etc. There are higher rates of returns in this case. It also avoids political risk in the home country and speculates in the foreign exchange market. Well, now we move on to the fourth block. And excuse me, this is the last block of MMPC 017. If we would quickly go into the first slide, which I had shown you, the fourth block, we have completed block one, two, third, and the fourth. This is the fourth block, which is titled Strategic Enablers, and it has four units: IT and strategy, technology and R&D, knowledge management, and innovation. So today we are going to begin with strategic enablers, and in strategic enablers we are going to discuss IT and strategy. Now, why is IT important? Now you would think, why is she asking this? Why isn't IT important? IT is omnipresent. Information technology is omnipresent. Today, we can't think of our lives without information technology, whether it is at home or at school or at any higher education institution or in the business or in the market, everywhere. There is no domain, no area which is unaffected by information technology. At the end of this unit, what you'll be able to understand, you will be able to understand the importance of IT in strategic management. Then you will also have an understanding of the various factors influencing the choice of IT architecture and infrastructure. That is, what are the various factors which affect the choice of what kind of IT hardware we require, what kind of IT software we require, what kind of information technology processes we require for the success of our organization, for the success of our business operations. Then we'll also have an understanding of role of IT, information technology, innovations and performance of a company. We describe e-business and steps in e-business plan. We want to, let's say we want to automate the operations, so what would be the steps in this automation process? And we also will be able to understand the role of IT in service quality. Without losing time, let's move on. Now, role of IT, information technology in strategic management. Why do we need information technology? First of all, why does every company nowadays, I think there is no company, whether it is national, local, regional, international, multinational, I think there is no company which is without information technology. No company has remained untouched with information technology. So why do we require information technology? Why do we need to implement automation? Why do we need to implement various, let's say, softwares? Why do we need computers? Obviously, increased competition, the increased competition everywhere, so there's such kind of stiff competition in the market that every company wants to increase its outreach. Every wants to reach the customer first, wants to be the first one to reach the customer with unique kind of products. Every company wants to provide unique products, unique services. Every company wants to be more and more closer to the customers. And how is that possible? That is only possible with the help of information technology services and products. Then, in order to improve the performance levels, now, how do we know whether our product, once we have manufactured the products, we have sold the products, we have taken the products to the market, and our products are being bought by the customers, then we want to know whether our products are being liked by the people, what is the feedback of the of the customers. Now, for the feedback, again, like we say reviews and ratings. Now, reviews and ratings have a huge importance nowadays. After all, when we talk of social media, what is social media? Social media is also a result of information technology. So, without social media or without technology, without any kind of, let's say, even IT is also for faster communication. Today we are not only looking at, like earlier, we used to have meetings locally, so people from different places had to come in of a particular company, they had to come at one place and have a meeting. Today that is also not required. Nobody needs to disturb, nobody gets disturbed, nobody gets deranged. You need not displace your employees to be there at one place for 2 days to have a meeting. No, we have web meetings, we have online meetings. So what is all this? This is all result of technological developments, that is result of it. Globalization, liberalization. Now it is so easy for us, as I said, to have meetings with our clients, meeting with all our stakeholders, a meeting with our partners, going into strategic alliance. We need to have a series of discussions. Now it's not possible. Earlier, the people from the company used to, again and again, maybe on a monthly basis, maybe on a fortnightly basis, they would have to fly to the other country where it is having its international operations, and to see, to check, to manage, to audit whether the operations are as per the strategic plans or not. Now it is not required. It's not required at all. You can do strategic control, you can evaluate by being at your own place without getting disturbed and displaced. So these are the various factors which has compelled all the companies to automate, which has compelled all the companies to go into the usage of information technology. What are the features of IT? Omnipresent, it is applicable everywhere. See, as I said, from home to market to companies to travel to hospitality industry, it is applicable everywhere. Then with results in decline in the rate of cost of IT usage, because it is being used so much that the, let's say, a computer which was so expensive earlier, now that computer has become very reasonable, is become very economical. Or for that matter, internet, which was so expensive earlier, now the internet, the use of internet has become very economical. Then there is universal ownership. You find you are using a particular application, let's say a particular software. You are the owner of that software, and wherever you operate, whether you are using that software in India or you are using that software in Japan, you are using that software in Bangladesh, you are using it anywhere at a multinational level, you remain the owner of that. Then there is exponential growth. It is growing so fast. IT is growing, the usage of IT is growing so fast that, and we also say that it is one of the fastest sectors having innovation. maximum innovation. Like we say, the software keeps on updating, we keep on getting updates, it keeps on changing. Then lower, however, there is also one disadvantage: lower bandwidth, internet bandwidth, sometimes at certain places acts as a hindering factor. IT and strategic management. So, what we are looking at from, why do we want to implement the latest advantages in IT in our company? Because okay, well, we trying to end up now, maybe another minute. So, what we're trying to look at, we're just not like trying to look at company efficiency and effectiveness, but we are trying to look at influencing the strategic position of the company. We are not looking at the day-to-day operational level. We are trying to implement IT in strategic management so that we succeed not at only the day-to-day operations, we succeed, it comes from top to bottom. So it is in 5 stages, the evolution of IT adoption and application. It is in 5 stages. The first stage, main goal is to enhance efficiency. Second stage is effective functioning, that is design and structure of the organization is done. Third stage is user participation, information planning, appointment of steering committees. Fourth stage is IT planning and acting as a catalyst. Fifth stage is development of IT architecture and infrastructure in the company. So we develop the IT architecture. We try to find out what are our requirements. So long as automation is concerned, accordingly we develop the IT architecture and infrastructure, and then we implement it for greater efficiency, for higher effectiveness of the company. Then we say, okay, well, now we wind up today. We will continue with the steps in designing our, what are the steps in designing our IT architecture and infrastructure in the next session. And thank you so much. Namaskar. Goodbye.